Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
Good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone. Welcome to your number one source for Native American television news, Native News Today. I'm your host, Jason Salzman, here in the Mvskoke Media Studios as we are ready for this week's episode of the show. Got lots of things to share with you. We've got 4 features this week, and we're going to cover a little bit of everything as we continue. The last few weeks, you've known, if you've been watching the show, keeping up with everything in our election coverage. Specifically this week, we'll talk with the manager of the Human Resources Department here at Mvskoke Creek Nation, who handles employees and personnel matters about employees that wish to run in an election, really what the policies say and how that works here at Mvskoke Creek Nation. Very interesting for people out there that don't know much about our election processes. But we have lots of things going on this week. We're so excited to show those to you here on Native News. We're going to take our first break and we'll be right back with the show. And welcome back to the program. As I said in the opener, we have been having ongoing coverage of our elections coming up here at Mvskoke Creek Nation. And if you're out there and you're watching and you don't know much about our elections or our processes, we want you to take a look at this next interview that we sat down with Dr. Dean Hughes. He is the manager of Mvskoke Creek Nation Human Resources. Now, why are you guys talking to the HR manager? We'll explain. At Mvskoke Creek Nation, employees are also allowed to run for political office. However, they do have to take a leave of absence from their jobs here at Mvskoke Creek Nation to do so. A few years ago, legislation was passed allowing them to use paid leave time accumulated. So that's changed some things as far as in the policies, but we sat down with Dr. Hughes to talk about this unique opportunity for employees to run for office and what it means here at the tribe.
The process would be that they would need to notify the election board that they are an employee as they file, and then we cause them to come to our labor relations person and clearly delineate the requirements as an employee in terms of what they can and can't do, the leave and or leaves that are now allowed under the law, and make them aware that once they file, they're going to have to exit that position immediately and until that day following either the general or the runoff election, wherever they may be elected or eliminated from that position that they're running for. They have an option as an employee if they do have leaves and choose to use either annual or personal. They can access those leaves and be paid during that time they're off, or they could choose not to. Or if they don't have leave, then they just go on unpaid leave during that time period that they're actually running for office. I think there's probably, and this is a thought of mine, is that they're running for a political office, and I think our laws do not allow for campaigning on nation's property, and so as an employee, it would be impossible for them not to do some campaigning if they're at work every day. And I think the rationale is good. I think it makes sense They opened up that they could use leave and burn that leave if they need to be paid during that time frame, and I think that's a positive for employees that want to run. I think it opened the door in some sense of the imagination, but I believe it's a positive thing, and and you know, we wouldn't want to discourage anyone from that opportunity to run for a position if they so had that desire. The law does not speak to sick leave, and so that would extend to donated sick. So if an individual, let's suppose that they were on sick leave and chose to file, they could not utilize their sick leave under the way the laws are currently written. And it makes sense, but at the same time, it gets convoluted, and I think there are questions that can be raised, but I wouldn't think, if I were ill and had an illness that was serious enough that I needed to be on sick leave or donated sick, I don't think it would be in the nation's best interest that I would file for receipt. So I think it goes hand in hand that a person has to be reasonable about that as well. And I think that's the rationale behind why sick leave wasn't included in the leaves that they can utilize during this time off their campaigning. Yes, the position is held. They may have to replace someone temporarily to do that job if it's a critical position, but their job is available, and in fact, they continue to receive benefits. If they're out of leave and there's nothing that can be pulled from payroll, then they are eligible to stay on at the employee rates on those benefits as well during that time frame. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the general is in September, and I think then the runoffs are after that, so there could be a long period of time that they might be off of the job. At the current time, under this election filing, there's only one employee that has filed for a position. Again, we live in a free world, and they certainly have that opportunity. I think the law and legislation that was changed in 2015 allows for them to take leave, and I think that's a fair thing. So I think it boils down to an individual's personal interest. If they have a desire or an interest to be involved in the council level, then they certainly have that opportunity, and they shouldn't be discouraged from that. Well, I think each entity, and tribal governments and tribal entities here are obviously unique in that setting, but I think we do a lot more of a personalized nature. We touch citizens and try to be as friendly as we can here to serve them. And I'm not sure that extends to all HR departments across the country or other job settings, because we serve citizens, not only employees, but non-employee citizens as well. And so we think that's important, and we strive to do that in the best way and as friendly and as we can be. So I think the tribal entity is a unique setting. Because of that, it's a challenge at times, but it's also very interesting, can be very rewarding as well, serving people and seeing results.
And we want to thank Dr. Hughes for taking some time out of his day to visit with us and explain some things as it pertains to his department and elections. So that's available online if you want to go to our online channel and check that out. And also MvskokeMedia.com, Honey Carranzo with the reporting on that story. Moving on, we got a chance to go to Fayetteville, Arkansas, our neighbors just to the east there, to the University of Arkansas School of Law. They have the Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative there. It is an office solely based on what I just said there, food, agriculture, and how it relates to indigenous cultures, indigenous people, and sustaining that, keeping it going. The way that we view food, the way we raise it, and the way we eat it in today's modern society, while still staying true to our indigenous roots. And they have teamed up with, for almost 6 years now, the InterTribal Agricultural Council to put on a youth summit. They invited us over to cover this great event. We're glad to show it to you now.
This week, 132 of Indian country's finest and most outstanding leaders are coming together to address the issues that we are facing in Indian country among our food system. This week is a very intense, very full schedule for them. They will be learning about everything from growing the food to what it takes to packaging the food and getting it back into the homes of their communities. And how can we improve that system among Indian country? How can we get Indian country more involved in that system? And really just a networking opportunity. They will get to do a lot of hands-on learning experience. They will do some field trips, classroom-based learning as well. For me, when our youth and our tribes get re-involved in the food system, it's sort of healing to see. We've always been able to feed ourselves, and for a while that opportunity was taken away from us or it was hindered. And now we're reconnecting the circle of how things used to be, and we're bringing that knowledge base into the 21st century, and we're able to improve our communities with it. We are very active on social media as well as having a website. You can find the InterTribal Agriculture Council on Facebook as well as at indianaglink.com. You can find the initiative on Facebook underneath the Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative as well as Ag Summit and on the University of Arkansas website.
Well, we were formed in '87 as a result of some drought money going into Indian country, and the senator who led the effort to get us that funding asked the question, why is it that every time there's an environmental disaster, financial disaster, our natives come in here to request additional appropriations out of Congress? And as a result of that question, there was 2 reports to Congress, and both of those reports listed a number of issues that faced Indian farmers and ranchers. And as a result, Congress directed the Bureau of Indian Affairs to facilitate the organization of a nonprofit to bring about these changes so that the plight of agriculture on reservations was improved, realizing that government doesn't change itself. So Congress said, we need a group to push these issues. And so we were formed in '87 to begin basically opening the doors for Indian agriculture, and a large part of what we do has been changing laws and changing policies so that Indians had the same opportunity as their off-reservation counterparts. A large part, besides changing the laws, we spend considerable time and energy educating tribes and individual Indian producers about the opportunities that are out there as a result of our law work. As an example, there is more money going into Indian country as a result of one program in 1 year than the BIA puts in 10 years. That's a huge economic impact on our reservations. One reservation alone has 106 contracts that equal about $26,000 apiece. That's $2.6 million going into one reservation as a result of one program. So I think we've made a huge difference in the opportunity available to native producers. I mentioned the report to Congress earlier. In that report, one of the barriers was the opportunity for youth to become involved in agriculture, but also the barrier of education. So it's been there. The youth part has been there since the inception of the organization, but in 2011, we made the conscious decision that youth and youth in agriculture was going to be one of our priorities, and we've brought, on the average, of about 100 kids per year to our membership meeting. And University of Arkansas was witness to what we were doing and wanted to do something similar but augment what we were doing. So we collaborated together on the start of this youth summit, and this being our 4th year of that collaboration. So, the 2011 event, we just decided to put our money where our mouth was and make a firm commitment to having youth involvement and begin enhancing their knowledge of opportunities in agriculture.
All right, and we want to thank everybody over there at the University of Arkansas School of Law and the Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative. Our good friend Brian Pollard, formerly at the Cherokee Phoenix, now doing a great job over there in Fayetteville at the University of Arkansas. Also some other Cherokees we know, Janie Hip and the like, doing a great job over there as well. And we really enjoyed being asked to go over and cover that wonderful event. And it was nice to meet some new friends too in a great big national organization like the InterTribal Agricultural Council, meeting good people like Ross Racine, the executive director there, and being able to tell their story and share all the great things that they're doing. Well, speaking of doing great things, our Mvskoke Creek Nation Tribal TANF office has a big back-to-school bash coming up where there's going to be lots of things provided for the kids at the Mvskoke Dome. I went over to the TANF office and talked with Lauren Randall. She is the youth programs coordinator there, and she was very excited about the back-to-school bash coming up.
Well, TANF is having a back-to-school event on Thursday, August 3rd at the Mvskoke Creek Nation Dome. Registration begins at 9:45 and the event starts at 10. And when the kids register, they'll receive a wristband, and they have to be present before the bullying and teen pregnancy prevention presentations. And then after that, they can get the backpacks full of school supplies. We're going to have inflatables there. There's going to be resource tables with different youth-oriented programs within the nation and different activities for them to do. There's going to be Seth Walker and Vanessa from Renovation Salon and some of the stylists from Upscale Salon in Okmulgee. They're going to be there doing free haircuts for the day also. We haven't ever had an event like this before. We wanted to do more community outreach, so we were trying to think of a way to get our name out there. You know, a lot of people don't know what TANF is and the services that we offer to our clients, so we were looking for a way to just do more community outreach. And a lot of places right now aren't able to provide, you know, school supplies and offer services like that, so we just wanted to get out there and do a little bit more for the public.
All right, thanks once again to the people over at TANF for having us over, and everybody out there getting in the back-to-school mood. That will certainly help those spirits and getting them excited to go back to school there. The bash coming up. Remember, it's this week at the Dome. Mark that calendar again, and look for everything on the site, MvskokeMedia.com, as well as Mvskoke Creek Nation site for more information on that event. Well, moving right along, our last feature of the week takes us to a musical act, specifically a Mvskoke Creek musician in the band, The Shelter People. Garen Birch is the bassist. He is a Creek citizen in this band that's doing an interesting homage to the 70s.
Ever since I was a kid, I listened to like a lot of records and stuff, and I don't know, I just grew up with it. Like I have a couple of other musicians in the family and stuff like that, so yeah, I don't know, just kind of runs in the family a little bit, and I've always had a love for music, so. Man, it's funny because like we don't describe ourselves as a 70s style band, because I mean we end up like sounding like that after it's all said and done, like the recordings and stuff. But for the most part, it's just like we like the 70s, and we listen to all the 70s people like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and I don't know, I guess it bleeds through whenever we play our music. And the hairstyles are pretty cool, so. The whole process of creating it and writing it and stuff came very, very fast. We got the band together for the first day. That's when we wrote Going Back Home. It was like just on the spot that day. And then the rest of the 3 other songs on the EP were recorded over the span of probably maybe 2-3 weeks. And then we started just playing them and eventually saved up enough money to start recording. I was happy to get it done by Mike Gilland over at Augie Reed Studios, and just working with him and really how the mix sounds in the album and like how it's, you know, mixed and mastered and stuff. That's like hearing our music in such good quality and stuff it's great. Yes, it does. And it's in there if you can find it. We played at Backspace over in Arkansas one night, and that ended up being a crazy night. I think 2 people got knocked out, and one guy got, it was just like a big fight happened, and it's kind of funny though, because we were on stage while it happened and we were watching it all go down. But yeah, that was probably my favorite moment. Yeah, just don't cover Black Sabbath in Arkansas. They do not like it. Yeah, it's basically just to keep doing this until we croak. Basically, I mean, just as long as I can keep playing music and everything goes good and I have a meal on the table the next day, that's what I live for. You can find our music on Bandcamp, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, Amazon Prime, etc. Basically everywhere online. And then as I look to my guitarist behind me, Josie Records, I think, which is a record store in Tulsa, where you can pick up our CDs.
Me and Garen met in high school, and when we met, we had like a similar music taste. We ended up telling a bunch of people in our school and just like on Facebook and stuff that like we were a rock and roll band and we played a lot of shows downtown, and it was just like a little white lie. It was funny. And then we get a call from like one of our friends, and he says, "Hey, I booked you guys a show at the Vanguard. It's in like 2 weeks." And I was like, "Oh." So I told Garen, I was like, "Hey, we actually have like a show. We got to be like a real band now." And we basically like had to force ourselves to like learn how to write songs. And we did it, and we played the show, and it was weird, but it was really fun, and we decided to keep going with it. But that was for like our first band, The Flood. But we've had a lot of music projects since then, but this has by far been the most successful. There was a musician and producer, Leon Russell, and he was from Tulsa, and he recorded with a lot of big names like J.J. Cale and Eric Clapton. And we asked him permission whenever we first formed the band, and we said, hey, or actually it was Garen's mom, he like emailed him or somehow, I don't know, it was like his manager, and she asked if we could have like use his band name, The Shelter People, as ours, because it was like the name of his album. And he was like, yeah, like, have all my blessings, basically. I'm just inspired by like anything that's loud. Really, I have a lot of inspirations. It's too many to name, but I do have like main ones, and I guess that would be just most of like the blues rock guitar players of like the 60s and 70s. I'm just really stoked to start recording an album, and I hope tonight goes really well, and I think it will. Really, really excited for tonight. I know everybody else is too.
All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Native News Today. We want to thank everybody out there. You know, you are truly a loyal audience. We appreciate everybody. I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you out there watching us on a weekly basis. And sometimes it's so interesting, you know, when we're bogged down a little bit, we have a short week, or we have to put some things together, maybe put together an archive episode. Trying to get our coverage in place and in order with all of the election going on. You know, you sometimes think, oh, you know, maybe somebody might skip out. Those are the episodes where so many people come on social media and interact with us and tell us how much they appreciate those episodes and seeing those old episodes and the old content that we provide. So we want to say thank you so much to all the people out there. Keep watching. We're going to do our best to make sure that you have a great show each and every week right here on Native News Today. Well, for Jared Moore, for Devin Luck Singer, all of us here at Native News Today and Mvskoke Media, you all have a great week. We'll see you next time.